name is Beth Hiley here for Board Game Geek at Gen Con 50. I'm sitting down with Sarah Erickson and Paul Alexander Butler, and you guys are from Renegade Geek Studios, and you have a special announcement.
We do. So Gen Con 50 is a pretty big deal, and we wanted to make sure we brought something huge to this event. And we are announcing Overlight, which is an entire new world that we have created, and it's going to be a fun sandbox to play around in. The very first thing that we're announcing within this world is going to be a role-playing game. And we're doing that with Paul Alexander Butler, who designed this incredible world that we're going to get to play in, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the RPG.
So my writing partner George Holland and I have basically created this thing that has been infecting our brains for a few years. We're huge fans of fantasy, but we sort of feel that if we were to announce that we were doing a new fantasy world, everybody would kind of know what that meant. You know, elves and dwarves, etc. Like, I'm a huge Tolkien fan, right? But we've seen the same tropes over and over again, and we really wanted to kind of return the wonder in fantasy to, you know, what's possible with a fantasy setting. So this thing is very much inspired by some of the art coming out of England in the 70s and early 80s, and it's very brightly colored, almost neon sometimes. We're pulling back a little from the grim and gritty tone that's so omnipresent in a lot of these settings. That's not to say there aren't some dark elements, but it's very bright. I don't want to dive too far down the nerdy rabbit hole, but but just a brief overview. The basic setting is we have 7 floating continents that are sort of stacked on top of one another, and the occupants of this world are able to channel the divine light from above into these 7 different colors, each of which is associated with a different spiritual virtue. So by manipulating these colors and shattering these colors, they can do wonderful things. And there's a different folk and culture upon each one of these continents, and they all interact in different ways, and there's deep culture. Now I was an anthropology student once upon a time, so the cultural backgrounds and the reasons for these cultures to behave in this way is very important to me. And my writing partner is coming from sort of a different angle. Yeah, that's about it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
it looks like
something
you guys
fresh.
have a website if
We
people
do.
want to check it out, which
It is worldofoverlight.com, and if you would go and check that out, sign up for the newsletter, you're going to be getting all sorts of fun little tidbits as we get closer to this project. And the other thing I really wanted to tell people is Quantai Moria is going to be the artist, the illustrator for this project, and so if you sign up for the newsletter, you might get to see some of the things he's working on as we go through it.
We're elated to have him involved. Like, he was one of the first people we spoke to, and the brief meeting turned into a 3-hour conversation.
Wow.
Where he was just getting every reference that we were making and understood our aesthetic goal. So we're super crazy excited that he's agreed to basically make all the nonsense in our head into a reality that other people can see.
Well, Paul, I hope we always do an RPG block here for Gen Con, so I hope that perhaps by next year's time we might have
That's the plan.
some juicy material to show at that point. So stay tuned. If you guys want to check that out, that's a preview of Overlight, which is coming out from Renegade Game Studios, which is Paul's brainchild, Sarah's company, and thank you both.
Thanks.